The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Welcome to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallops. You are in the Oval Office, the White House, of Gulf Coast Talk Radio, broadcasting to parts of 4 states along the Gulf Coast, and broadcasting to the nation and the world by live stream on the internet. Carl is not ashamed of the Word of God, the Constitution, or the Declaration of Independence. He does not care about political correctness, nor does he depend upon a teleprompter or popularity polls. Carl stands for truth, reason, and common sense. Carl firmly believes that America is God's gift to the world. If any of that interests you, you are at the right place. Freedom Friday on 1330 WEBY. Now, here's Carl Gallops.
All right, welcome back, Gulf Coast. Welcome back, America. 1330 WEBY. We're broadcasting live this afternoon, and we are broadcasting to 4 states along the Gulf Coast. And of course, we stream live over the Internet at 3 different locations, and we stream live over your smartphone. Go to carlgallops.com up in the top right-hand corner, and you can get the connection to all of those. Plus, we podcast. And so we have listeners and callers from coast to coast. Email box that blows up with callers. In fact, I've got several I was just looking at a moment ago from various places around the United States, people saying, you know, when Mike Zulo comes on, ask him this, and when Mike Zulo comes on, ask him that. And so people are really, really excited about every time Mike comes on, because we have people from all over the world that download our podcast. They don't listen live because of the time differences and the inconvenience of all that. A lot of folks are sleeping right now while we're talking. So, but we get tons of feedback all over the Internet, our postings, Facebook, Blogspot, and YouTube, and because people are concerned about this Obama fraud case. And the cold case posse, Mike Zulo, the lead investigator, Sheriff Arpaio, the one that cranked that thing up, and for all of the evidence we have thus far, there is nothing that would point us away from the fact that the birth certificate proffered by the White House, the only identifying document anyone has ever seen on who Obama is a complete fraud, a fabricated fraud. Mike Zulo, thank you for being a part of Freedom Friday this afternoon.
Hi, Carl. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you with us. Mike, there's so many things I want to talk to you about, and I know, and by the way, folks, if you want to call and be a part of the show, please do. 850-623-1330. You can ask Mike questions. You can make your comments. You can express your opinions, even if you're an Obama bot. Now, to the Obama bots, they often complain because, well, Carl cut me off. Well, first of all, I don't cut all the Obama bots off, only the ones that call up and immediately go into character assassination. Or they just throw out false information, disinformation, stuff that has been handled and spoken to on this show for years, and they go back and readdress it as though we've never handled it. Of course I'm going to cut that off. If you've got something new to say, something fresh to say, a fresh challenge. Mike Zulo and I have been challenging the Obama bots for the last year or more. Bring us 100% verifiable, courtroom-ready evidence that birth certificate is a complete eligible document, that is completely accurate and viable, and we'll back away from this. So please do. No one's ever been able to do that yet. So we invite you to come on. But Mike, listen. You and I are both aware of a video that's just going crazy. I looked this morning. I think it had 10 hits when it first went up. I was looking a moment ago, and it's locked in. It's frozen at well over 1,000 now. So it's I say frozen because unless you pay YouTube money for 4 or 5 days, they just released a trifling amount of how many views it really has. But Mickey Booth, Mike, who wrote Memoirs of a Community Organizer from Hawaii. Mickey Booth, who you know and I know. We know her husband, Fred, who worked for the Hawaii PD, Hawaii 5-0 for years. In fact, he was quite a high-ranking official there at one time. But she wrote this book and just uncovering tons of information about this fraud that's in the White House and Hawaii politics and all of that. She approached her congressman the other night, Mark Wayne Mullin, and offered him the 200 and something point affidavit that you prepared, Mike, and the congressman wouldn't even touch it, wouldn't take it, and then kind of condescended and talked down to her. You've seen that video, haven't you, Mike?
Yeah, I did see it, Carl.
Yeah. All right, I've got a 45-second clip. Now, the video is about 3.5 minutes. Folks, if you want to see the whole thing, go to carlgallops.com, click on the Freedom Friday link, and then when you get to the Freedom Friday page, at the very top in yellow, you'll see it. Congressman Wayne Mullin community event video, et cetera. You can't miss it. It's right at the top of the page. Mike, let me play. I'm going to play a 45-second clip. Then I'm going to ask for your comment on how he responds to Mickey Booth, okay?
Okay.
Okay, good. Let's roll it. Joey, roll it.
And I believe what you're saying, and I don't support this president whatsoever.
But he's not a real president.
But, ma'am, we lost November 6th. We had the opportunity to get another president in there, and like it or not,
So he's above the law. He's not going to be held accountable to a crime that goes to the very root of what he's doing to this Constitution. He was a fraud. He got in. He's got all. Here's the old evidence that it's a fraud.
I want you to stay, and you can stay. But we've got a lot of meetings and all that.
No, he's above the law. There's nothing you can do.
Guys, it has nothing to do with anybody being above the law. And please understand what I'm saying when I say this. We had 4 years to take care of that. Our country's facing some serious issues.
Well, Mike, you know, basically what the guy says, and folks, that's a 45-second clip of a 3-minute interchange like that. Basically what he says is Obama was able to slide his way back into office even though it was illegal and unconstitutional. We, quote, voted him back in, so we got to move on. And, of course, Mickey's point was, wait a minute. Are you saying if you can get away with defrauding the entire American public, if you can get away with it, there's nothing you can do? And basically the congressman says, yes, that was his attitude. What do you say about that, Mike?
I'm almost speechless. I don't understand that type of reasoning. You know, it's almost like saying, you know, the bank robber went in on Monday, you know, stole $7,500 and then comes back in and deposits $6,000 on Thursday, so we'll let it slide.
Yeah, because you couldn't catch him in the act, so there's nothing you can do now.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. You know, and there was a lot of double talk. It's, hey, I agree with you, but.
Yeah.
You know, and when this was going on before the second election, what we heard from Congress people were, we're going to take him out at the ballot box.
Right.
We're going to beat him on policies and all this other stuff. And that was the excuse they gave us then for not wanting to pursue the matter.
Right. Well, basically, this is my opinion, and you don't have to agree. They're a bunch of wimps. I mean, they just, where are the men, Mike Zulo? Where are the men? And I'm talking about, you know, where are the strong women? Because there are women congressmen too. But I mean, there's more of them are men. Where are the men in this country? I mean, they're terrified, they're afraid, they're wimps, and like you said, they gave the excuse the first 4 years. Well, we'll beat him at the ballot box. Well, so you're going to let him rule unconstitutionally for 4 years? Well, we'll just beat him. Well, they didn't beat him. So now they're saying, well, you know, you elected him, you put him back in office, so now we're stuck with him. What kind of rationale is that, Mike Zulo?
You know, Carl, your guess is as good as mine. It's anything to avoid the issue.
I know. It's unbelievable. Listen, you've got callers on the line. Let's take some calls because we promised folks they could talk to you. And if you want to be a part of the show, folks, 850-623-1330. Mike Zulo, who is the lead investigator of the cold case posse Obama fraud case, he's on with us this afternoon. Leslie, you're calling from Texas. Thank you for listening from Texas, and thanks for calling. And you want to ask Zulo something about the birth certificate. Go ahead.
Hi. Yes, thank you. It's not necessarily about the birth certificate per se, but it relates to these congressmen.
Okay.
My understanding of the law is that if someone is aware of a felony and they do nothing about it, they're guilty of misprison. And I'm going to be meeting with my congressman tomorrow at noon, and I've put together my talking points. My number one topic with him is asking him to support Steve
Stockman.
Mm-hmm. And I watched a couple of times that video with
Mickey Booth,
And, you know, the guy was really rude, and he wouldn't let her talk.
Yeah.
I believe we need to let them know that we know the law.
Right.
And we need to get them to, first of all, admit that they know that a felony has been committed.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And, you know, they may continue to say there's nothing we can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
They are guilty guilty of misprison, and we need to file lawsuits against our congresspeople.
Well, Leslie, that's an interesting proposition. Mike, I've got an opinion on it. I know you do as well. What would you say to Leslie about that? So you've got a congressman who if you can get him to admit, look, we know that the Constitution has been violated. We know that this birth certificate's a forgery, but I'm a congressman. I raised my hand and swore to protect the Constitution, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And she says that's criminal. What do you say, Mike?
Well, I think the problem with that is, on the surface, it sounds good, but the problem you're going to have with it is I know it's a forgery. Until that document is adjudicated as such, nobody knows.
Right.
And the excuse there is going to be the figure of speech. I know. I'm sharing my belief with you.
Right.
But there is no adjudication of the document. There is nothing to really point to it as being a forgery other than the allegation.
Well, that's right. Well, yeah, and let me rearrange your words there. And, of course, if I say something wrong, just correct me. We've got plenty to suggest that it's a forgery. But what you're saying, the point you're making, is a legal point, and it's absolutely valid. And that is, you can say, as the investigator, the lead investigator, you can say, I know it's a forgery. However, for it to be legally adjudicated, in other words, for a court to hear it, Supreme Court or Congress to do an investigation, and for them to examine all the facts and then say, okay, this is a forgery. That's what we need legally, because we're a nation of laws. We're a nation of adjudication. We need for an adjudicating body to look at your evidence. You know the evidence you have. You know it's a forgery, but you're not a judge. You're the investigator. So now we need a judge, whether that's a congressional panel or Supreme Court, whatever, to say, yes, we agree, this is a forgery. Isn't that a correct analysis?
Yeah, I'm glad you restated that for me, because I in retrospect, it didn't come out correct. It doesn't really matter what I believe.
Right.
It's what we can prove in a court of law.
That's right. Exactly.
And that's what we have to get.
That's right, and that's where you've been moving, and Arpaio's been moving, and I've been doing my little part to try to help. We're trying to move it. We believe, I know Sheriff Arpaio has said from the beginning, we believe that the place for it to be is in a congressional investigation and hearing, correct?
Yes, that's what he believes, and I think he's right about that. It's going to be the quickest remedy if you could get it.
Right. Let's take another caller, because the phone lines are burning up. Johnny, thank you so much for listening. Where are you calling from, Johnny? Gulf Coast or around the United States? Where are you calling from?
Near Ocean City, Maryland.
Okay, from Maryland. Okay, thank you so much, Johnny, for listening today, and thanks for calling from Maryland. You're on with Mike Zulo. What's your question?
Hello. Nice to meet both of you. Anyway, who made this guy above the law? Why can't you just arrest him?
Now,
Simple as that.
Which guy are you talking about, Obama?
Obama.
Okay. Well, you know what? That's a good question, and it's been asked before. Mike Zulo, why can you not march up to the White House and arrest Obama, even though you know, as an officer of the law, that he has broken the law? Why can you not just walk up there and arrest him?
Because, first of all, we don't have the jurisdiction to do that. Second of all, we would never do something like that, because what would have to happen here is this information would have to be turned over to a prosecutor. And a prosecutor is going to have to make a decision whether or not he's going to level a charge against an individual.
Right.
And to think that somehow we can circumvent that and go carry out that kind of action, actually is something that you would never see done.
Right.
In law enforcement. There's procedures that have to happen. And getting to the prosecutionatory stage of this, you have to realize that, you have to get a prosecutor who's willing to do this.
Right. And
that's not an easy task.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you said in the beginning. It's got to be adjudicated. I mean, we've had presidents impeached. And theoretically, a president could be arrested, I suppose. Even depending upon how treasonous or how bad the case was. But this has to be, all the evidence has to be heard by an adjudicating body, and an adjudication has to be made. Correct? I mean, you can't just walk up to the White House and arrest the guy.
No, and Carl, we're investigating a fraudulent document.
Right.
We're not investigating anything else.
Right.
And there has to be evidence to accuse somebody of fabricating that document.
Right. Right.
And you have to be able to put that individual in place somewhere doing it.
That's right.
So it's a very far stretch.
Yes. Yeah. I got it. But I appreciate you answering it, and I appreciate her asking the question. And thank you for listening from Maryland. We've got another listener from Oklahoma. I see the name, and I know who this is. This is Mickey Booth. Mickey Booth is the one that wrote the book, Memoirs of a Community Organizer from Hawaii. She's a good friend of mine, good friend of Mike Zulo. Thank you for listening today, Mickey. And, of course, we're talking about the video, and your congressman. Weigh in a little bit here, Mickey.
I know, it's pretty exciting. There's a number of versions of it going around now. Roll Call has picked it up and has my version on it. And their spin on the deal is that Mullin admits that he's a birther by, what do you call,
by proxy?
Admits he's a birther because he's among all of the birthers that don't believe Obama was born in the United States. That's always the spin they put on it, instead of the truth that we're addressing a fraudulent document.
Right.
And Obama's proof, basically to steal the election and get away with it. I mean, it's criminal from the bottom up.
Right.
And also BuzzFeed carried it too, and they used there was another videographer there, and I don't know if he was from BuzzFeed, but apparently a connection to BuzzFeed, because they took that video and they edited out all of the parts where I was talking about the investigation, about Sheriff Arpaio, about Congressman Steve Stockman and the other congressmen that were stepping up,
right.
Believing that it should be heard in Congress. And these are the parts he shouted, over me on all of this. And at one point, he even a lot of people didn't pick it up, but I did, and I'd forgotten that he said that until I heard it get on the tape. But he actually said, "I really don't give a shit."
Oh, my gosh.
He said that.
Oh, my gosh, he said that? Well, yeah. I can't believe you just said that. They might shut our station down. Because
I'm so sorry.
No, Mickey,
he
no,
really
listen.
The way that he did it.
I know. But let me just interject. In context, I don't mind you saying it, because that I didn't know that he said that. And so they edited that out?
That part they left in.
Oh, okay.
Because they wanted to for him to appear like a real lunatic, because he's agreeing that he believes that the birth certificate is a forgery.
Right.
And so they were trying to make him out to look like a birther, and his very spokesperson on the roll call article,
right.
She says that, BuzzFeed did it intentionally to make him look like a birther candidate.
Right. Well,
and she adamantly states on there that he has never been, for the birther issue, and
right.
he's never, ran on that or anything like that.
Right.
And when I read that, it reminded me that when he was running for the office, and that's actually the office that I ran for in 2010
right.
against Dan Warren,
right.
who decided, he won that year in 2010, but then he decided not to run again, and so that's how
right.
Mullin got in.
Right. Well, Mickey, listen, we're up against a break, and Mickey, you hang on, and I appreciate you calling. So, Mike, she makes a good point. They're continually trying to bring it back to the birther issue, but like you have said so many times, at this point, this is not about necessarily where he's born. That may come out. I mean, that's going to have to come out eventually, but it's about why would the man in the White House present a fraudulent document, right? It's about the fraudulent document. It's about a felony being committed.
Carl, that's what it's about. It's always been about that for us. And, to go out on a little bit of a limb here, I am having a very difficult time believing that birth event took place in that particular hospital.
Yeah.
And it's becoming, more apparent to me as this goes on.
Yeah.
So I think the question here is, why does somebody do something like this? What's the motive?
Right. And I know you've been to Hawaii several times, and you've had some deep conversations in and around the Department of Health and the hospitals, and you've got a lot of reason to believe that. And I've presented the scenario over and over again that, look, why don't they have a plaque? Why don't they have a statue? Why don't they have a memorial? Why don't they have, not a memorial, a monument? Why don't they claim Barack Obama was born here? It's on the birth certificate that he proffered, but Kapi'olani won't do it, will he, Mike? Not yet.
No, I don't believe they have any evidence that it did happen.
Yeah. That's what it's seeming like. Folks, we got to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll take more of your calls, more of Mike Zulo, his commentary and revelations. We'll talk about Steve Stockman and some of the latest on where we might be with him and Congress. When we come back, Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups. I told you didn't want to miss this. We'll be right back.
Now, back to your turn on 1330 WEBY, Northwest Florida's Talk Radio. The phone lines are open, so call in and join the conversation at 623-1330.
And now, the Commander-in-Chief is back. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
All right, welcome back, America. We're going right back to the phone line. Mike Zulo, we've got a minute and a half, so let me just ask a question because I know a lot of people are listening all over the nation for your answer on this. We know that Congressman Yoho out of Florida last week, I think it was, made some kind of announcement at a Tea Party meeting that Steve Stockman had a bill and that Yoho would probably support him in it, et cetera, come before Congress. I know that you have access to Steve Stockman and his office and that you've talked to him and he wants to talk more to you. What do you know about that? Do we know if he's got a bill? Do we know what he's doing? Do we know if he's talk to us.
No, what I know is that Steve was contemplating a number of different things and tossing them back and forth. I'm not aware that he made any specific decision. He's on recess and he's been out of the country.
Right.
So I have not had a conversation with him. So I'm a little bit in the dark as well as everybody else is. And that town hall meeting that took place in Florida, that may be something that Steve is considering, but I don't have any indication that that's what he's going to pursue.
Right.
I know he's going to pursue something. I just don't know completely what it is yet. Right.
So either Yoho is absolutely correct, and that's what's happening, or he might have misspoken. I don't think Yoho would have just lied. More than, it seems to me that at least Stockman has spoken to Yoho about this or the possibility of it for him to get up and say that in front of a group of people.
Well, that's evident, and it's evident that Steve is contemplating something.
Yeah.
But I can't speak on his behalf.
Right, and I know that Steve has spoken to you at great lengths, and he's spoken to you and me together, and made some promises of plans, but we don't know at this point if he's carried them through or going to yet. But we're trusting that he'll do what he says, huh?
That's all we can do. You have to trust, and you have to believe that somebody's going to step up and do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, we got 5 seconds. I got to let you go. God bless you, Mike. We'll have you back on soon. Thanks for being a part of the show today.
Thank you, Carl.
Okay.
Right, bye-bye.
Folks, we'll be right back after this time out.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.